Hello, and thanks for tuning in for another day with Walking on Broken Glass. I am your host, Roberta Holtz, and I'm sitting here with the one and only Skip Townsend. Say hello to the people, Skip.
Hello, people. I guess I'm walking on broken glass now too. I don't want to walk on broken glass though, but here I am, you guys. I'm here with you.
Okay, so I'm going to talk to Skip a little bit about a couple of things today, and we hope you like it. So, Skip, tell us a little bit about your childhood. Like, maybe what was the first thing that you ever did that got you in trouble?
So my childhood, I think the very first thing that I can remember that got me in trouble was I would leave the back door open. My mother had two jobs, so I'd come home. I guess I'm in the first, second grade, and I would leave the back door open in the morning. So when I came home, I didn't have to go to the babysitter. I can just go home, get my bike out, and ride up and down the street. And the babysitter said, "Hey, you're supposed to be over here. And how'd you get the bike?" And that was so she made me put the bike up. She twisted me by my ear, pulled me into the house, had me do my homework, and then when my mother got home, I'm sitting there eating, and the phone rang, and the babysitter was calling her, telling her what I did. So she said, "Oh, is that right? Is that right?" Went and got her belt, and while I'm sitting there at the table eating, she just started beating the dog shit out of me. I don't know if I can curse, but she beat the dog out of me. Let me just leave it at that. And I thought that was it. But then about a weekend later, my father came to get me, and she told my father what I did. And all I remember is I got three whoopings for one thing. I left one door open. Got my ass whooped three times for that one thing.
Wow. Now, do you feel like that was a deterrent to keep you from doing that type of thing? Or was it just like, okay, I'm young, I did this, let me keep on going, and maybe did anything else happen when you got a little older?
Yeah, so by the time I got older, so that wasn't a deterrent for me. What that was I got caught. I
Okay.
could never do that again. Not never leave the door open and get my bike, but never get caught again. That was my thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
never
so
get caught.
by the time I'm 13 years old, um, all right, by the time I'm 13 years old, what eventually happened is now I got friends of mine outside. We sitting on the grass, 80th Street in Crenshaw, and the people leave and they wave at me and call me by my government name. And the guys outside was like, "Oh, we about to break in their house." And I said, "No, we not." And they said, "No, you ain't, but we going." And they went in the house, and I stayed outside. And eventually, what happened was, I was the one that got arrested because they said I was a lookout. The neighbor said I was a lookout, and then when the family got home, they told the family that we caught one of the guys that broke in your house and said it was me. And I was like devastated, like, man, I caught myself doing the right thing and still got caught up in the BS that I didn't participate in.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've already mentioned a couple of things. You mentioned something wasn't a deterrent. It was more like you got caught.
Yeah.
So then when you got older, that whooping that you may have gotten 5 years before wasn't fresh in your mind. And I'm sure you hadn't been doing things to get in trouble to keep you on edge. So when you got older, did you think that you were going to get in trouble when you were hanging with these guys and they told you what they were about to do? What was going through your mind?
So what was going through my mind right then was the fact that I went to school with the oldest daughter. Matter of fact, I went to school with all three of them, all three of the kids, but the oldest daughter was in my class. So I'm thinking I can't do that. I can't be a part of this because I know her closely. I know, her sister and her brother. So that was never a deterrent, but I don't want to mislead you because that whooping I got, the three whoopings I got for leaving the bike, that wasn't the end of it. Man, come on, I was doing all kind of stuff. I was getting whoopings. Nah, that was happening. I would say I would get a whooping probably at best like once a month.
Okay.
Sometimes it would be twice a month, or maybe at some points in my life it was once a week. I was always doing something, so I was just, as they would say back in the days, I was turned up.
Wow.
I was on to different things. I was stealing bikes, but it wasn't always a whooping. I would catch people who left their bike unattended.
Okay.
I take it home. I take parts off of it, put it on my own bike, and then get rid of whatever pieces or whatever. But what would happen is somebody would then take my bike. So I didn't have to get a whooping to learn, like, man, I'm doing wrong, and that's
Okay.
why wrong is being happening to me.
Right.
Because I'm doing stuff bad to people, so bad things happening to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, was all of that before you got to high school?
Oh yeah, that's fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh grade. Yeah, all that was. Yeah, by the time I got to high school, I learned how to work a screwdriver,
Okay.
so I could get into a car and there were Concord stereos, tape players.
Yeah, yeah.
BMWs had block punts.
Yes.
So I can get into a car and with the screwdriver, I just take the knobs off and with a screwdriver, pop, 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 pull them. If the wires didn't disconnect, if I couldn't unplug them, then I would just rip them because whoever I sold it to would just have to put the electrical tape on it. So I was stealing radios. I was breaking in cars. I would go to the parties. Uncle Jam's Army provided a lot of my childhood sweets and stuff because the girls would go into the parties at Uncle Jam's Eve after dark, and they would put their purse and leave their money in the car. So with my screwdriver, I don't have to go inside. I'm not going to party and function. I'm just going to pop the trunk, get in the purse, take the money out, and go on back about my business.
So, from a young age, you might have been doing something a little negative, but you had that business acumen at a young age and you didn't know it. You needed to redirect what you were doing at the time, but you didn't know it.
Right.
Would you say that?
I would say that. I would say that I had a business type mind, and I also had a loving mind. I didn't want to hurt people. I mean, I didn't look at it as taking their money as hurting them. I didn't understand that. However, I understand it now. But I was thinking like, man, I don't want to rob somebody. I don't want to jump out with a gun. I don't want to snatch something. Matter of fact, if I can confess, when I was about 13 years old, I snatched the lady's purse. And she was an older lady, and she had like $3, $4 in it. And I felt so horrible that I've been a part of riots in jail, in prison. I've been a part of hurting people, fights, 10 of them, 5 of us, and the other way around, 15 of us and 2, 3 of them. And I always pray to God and say, forgive me for stealing that lady's purse. I never say forgive me for what I did to old boy or what he did to me. You see, I got half a tooth. I got part of my head won't grow back because I got hit in it. I never ask for forgiveness for them, for me. These are things that we signed up to do to each other. I made a commitment that whatever you do to me, I'm gonna do to you, but we're not gonna tell the police. We're not, So I don't ask for forgiveness for that. But I had no business when I was 13 years old taking that lady's purse. That had me in tears a few times as I got older, thinking about the things that I did. And trust me, I've been accused of hurting people before. I mean, truly hurting them. So for that to be the biggest thing that really eats away at my stomach lets me know that I wasn't a horrible person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, based on your childhood with a couple of things you said you did and the way that the kids are growing up nowadays, what are some comparisons and some contrasts that you've seen or you notice that lets you know that they're just on a whole new level?
I think the thing that I see that is a reminder of my childhood is the fact that they're not listening to adults. I shared with you earlier a guy named Tony Massengale. When I was in high school, he used to buy us food. He used to take us different places. He would get kids from Dorsey and kids from Crenshaw High School, bring us together, build relationships, and take us to some important places. I would always tell him that, hey, look, when you leave, I ain't gonna eat tomorrow. We don't have food at my house. And that was just to get him to go buy me some McDonald's or something, My mother was working, cooking, all that, leave stuff there for us to eat. But I think that's what I see myself doing now. I'm the Tony Massengale now. And I'm buying kids something to eat, and they telling me, oh, we ain't got no food at the house. I go to their house, and there's weed, there's alcohol. I can smell the cooking in the kitchen, and well, you've been sitting here lying to me the whole time, you got something to eat or whatever. But I think the difference for me was that I didn't have a negative lifestyle in my home. My father had like 2 or 3 master's degrees. My mother, she had an associate. She didn't get a bachelor's, but she was very intelligent and she knew how to type and she could always get a job. I think that's the difference in me, is that I was never cut out to be in a job, to work in an office, I was made for the streets. And I knew that at an early age. Not saying I'm about to go out in the streets and hang out, smoke, drink, and be sexually related to everybody, but whatever work I needed to do as a tow truck driver, I was in the streets. Whatever work I need to do as an interventionist, I need to do it in the streets. So that's how I see the difference, is that and in my era of growing up, when the Crips and Bloods first started shooting and killing and fighting each other, there was a rule that situational awareness, you cannot be high or drunk on no kind of drugs, because now you've let your guards down, and I could be victimized. So I think that's the difference too. These kids, part of being in a gang now is to be on drugs, and in my days you had to make a choice. You gave your life to drugs, or you giving your life to the community.
Now here's something. Let's clarify this, because I've heard some people, young people, say that they were in a gang, or they were in a clique, or they call it or a crew. What is the difference? What is a gang? What defines a gang?
I think what defines a gang has been law enforcement, because a lot of people understand that. I'm going to give you my example. My mother told me that when I go to school, walk with the kids on the block. So she would give me there's a big tree down the street. When I come outside, you can't be past that big tree.
Right.
Or there's a gate this way. Don't go past that gate. It's because she want to come outside and see me.
Right.
So now when it's time to go to school, I got to walk to school with those individuals in my community.
Okay.
So I don't consider us a gang. We're a family. We're a neighborhood, and we go. But if somebody gets into a fight, I can't come back to my block and I didn't help with the fight.
Okay.
So now when somebody got a black eye and busted nose, well, what did you do? What did you do? I watched. I didn't do nothing. That wasn't my fight.
Right.
Okay, so now I'm supposed to get beat up. But so law enforcement tells us that we're a gang, but we're looking like this is just a tight-knit community, because there's no structure, there's no hierarchy. In the black community, there is no leader. Some people want to go steal cars, like I said. Some people want to go to the clubs. They say, oh, we know Chris Brown, Lil Bow Wow, we can get in the clubs for free.
Right.
So that's what they want to do. And other people thinking to themselves, man, I ain't got nothing to do, I want to go hurt somebody. But none of those groups have a leader. Each individual, some people sell drugs. No one, and then the enhancement, the gang enhancement says, oh, they sold drugs to better their community, for the betterment of their neighborhood, their gang. But that's not the case. If I sell drugs, it's for me to get a Cadillac or a Chevy lowrider or something.
Right.
And if somebody comes say, you got to break that up with us, now I'm going to be against them.
Right.
So, and now I'm just speaking on the black community, because of course the Latino community is totally different. And Latino community, there's a hierarchy, and there's a price to pay for whatever you're doing in that community, or there's repercussions. The black community, that's what went wrong with our community, is there was no structure and repercussions. However, we got the same sentencing, the same amount of sentences as people who had structure, and that just wasn't the case in the black community in LA.
Wow. Okay. Now, with the work that you're currently doing, matter of fact, tell the people about Second Call. Tell them about what you're doing.
So Second Call is a community-based organization, and I'm following in the footsteps of people who are greater than myself. Darren Bo Taylor, the actor and also football player Jim Brown, who had the Mary Cam program. Bo Taylor had Unity 1. Because of Unity 1, there was a Unity 2. Because of Unity 2, there's a Unity 2 Chapter 2, and now it's just known as Chapter 2. There was a Unity 3. There was a Venice 2000. Because of Venice 2000, there's a Helper Foundation. There's also Second Call, which is the organization that I represent. And what we do in the community, number one, is save lives. Number two, we want to do safe passage. I want you to be able to go to the store, go visit your grandmother. I want your kids to go to school. I want you to be able to be safe in the community. So we have ambassadors, we have intervention workers who create safe passage. There was a funeral today, and it wasn't in the neighborhood where the child grew up. So we have other community members coming from somewhere, going somewhere else. Safe passage is important. Getting your kids to and from school. Some of them have to catch the bus, some of them get dropped off, and be doing safe passage. We have to know the community to know that, hey, you're not supposed to go this way. And I'm not just talking about guys who might get into it with other guys, but I'm talking about girls. Girls who are convinced to go to their little friend house or something, and then they don't show up for a week or two, and they say, oh, they kidnapped or they lost. Part of safe passage is knowing that you don't belong with them, don't trust them. Take your ass home. So these are the things that we do in the community. Also, people say, oh, my son, he's 19 now, he's 20, or my baby daddy's 28 and he needs a job. So we do job coordinating too. So we help individuals to get on the right path, careers in construction, or even if we have a job, maybe working at the Metro Rail or somewhere else that we have, we help them get ready for it. Because a lot of people think when you get a job, there's a 10-minute grace period or a 15-minute grace period. And I just want you to know at second call, and you work for second call, you'll be fired if you adhere to that 10-minute or 15-minute grace period. But listen, here's the key though. If we help you get a career in construction and you have to be at work at 6 in the morning and you're showing up 10 or 15 minutes late, when you come back to the second call meeting, there's more than just you getting fired. You're going to get punched on, because there are people who are in prison right now waiting on the opportunity to do something great when they get home. So if people are showing up or not appreciative, not grateful, and acting like they're entitled, or the system, the community owes you something or whatever, then there has to be a consequence, because people who have done 20 and 30 years who waiting on their opportunity, we can't have somebody ruin it for us all. We call it peeing in the water. You can't pee, if it's drinking water, you can pee in the toilet, but we got drinking water, so you can't pee in the water. You have to be grateful and appreciative of it. Show up to work. I'd rather be 2 hours early than 2 minutes late. So we ask everybody who works with Second Call or who gets a career in employment because of Second Call that, you know, we like the 2 hours before 2 minutes, but if you show up 30 minutes, 45 minutes, you can avoid all the foolishness.
Wow, that's great. Now it sounds like your childhood, that baseline that you had, was always with you.
Yes.
So you never forgot the baseline that your parents gave you. True enough, you may have went to the left, may have went to the right. You came back around, and it sounds like you are your parents and the community members back then reincarnated.
Yeah, I want to say I am, because my mother was always around the politicians. You asked me about one earlier, Gilbert Lindsay. My mother worked for HUD,
Okay.
and she helped displace all them people who had to move because of the 105 freeway.
Wow.
But she helped them get homes or move on or whatever. That was her role, responsibility. And she was saying there was so many things that she wanted to do for the community, because she truly loved the community, but she never got the opportunity to. So the stuff that I'm doing in the community, she really loves it and appreciates it. And my father passed in 1998.
Oh.
So he never got to see it. However, he was community orientated as well. I used to drive tow trucks, and he kept telling me to get contracts. So when he died and I got out of jail, that was the first thing I did, is got a flatbed, got contracts, and I got out the streets, because my level of towing was either doing repos or chasing an ambulance. And of course, both of them can get me killed. Chasing an ambulance can get me, Highway Patrol has this thing about solicitation. You can't solicit, you know. And of course, the repos, you know, people want to hurt people behind taking their cars. So my father said, man, get out the streets, but the streets was all I knew. So I started driving tow trucks, doing commercial tows for 310 Motoring, towing for a lot of celebrities, doing video shoots and movies and things of that nature. I just want to say I am responsible for the 7 Monte Carlos that Denzel Washington had in the movie Training Day, because the front had to be taken off of one, then I had to get another with the back taken off, so just in case how they film. Had to get one that they put the bullet holes in, had to have 3 that had hydraulics in it. So that's my claim to fame in towing. Yeah.
Wow. This is pretty good. So your story is pretty good. You've lived I wouldn't even say it's a reckless life. You've lived. You've
I've
lived.
lived the good and the bad
And this was
and the
only
ugly.
and this was only 20 minutes. This was the good.
Oh, okay. That's
So
okay.
we're gonna stop right here. We're gonna save some for the people because we just talked about the good. We may get to the bad and the not so pretty some other time, but I want to thank you for sitting down with me on Walking on Broken Glass and letting people
Where is
know
the broken glass? I don't want to walk on broken, but I thank you for having me. Though I do want to say that.
you are quite welcome. Thank you. This is gonna help my views. So once again, thank you for tuning in to Walking on Broken Glass. Hope you learned something from this. You'll be able to leave things in the chat if you have questions. I'll put up Mr. Townsend's, what shall we say? Is it a handle? How do you, your, because it's not YouTube, so
I would say go to www.secondcall.org. Just go to Second Call. You can reach me. You can find me. There's so many. Or Google Skip Townsend. Skip has two P's. SKIPPTOWNSEND.
all right.
That's it.
Thanks for tuning in. Hope everybody's staying safe out there. Peace.